My name is Ethan Wyckoff. I am the sales rep here for the state of Florida and Southern Georgia. Today we're going to be going over a color offload module. We'll be talking about mixing and blending work orders together, show you how you can reject a part live on the shop floor and communicate that back to the programming office. We'll also demonstrate how you can swap a sheet on the fly after a program has been created, and also how you can get some accurate machine cutting times using, again, the color offload module. Now, this is, again, one of our shop floor connectivity modules for customers who are integrated using the SigmaNEST module with their business system. So for the purposes of the webinar here, I will be acting as if we are already using that program SigmaNEST, so we're connected to our ERP system to track things like inventory, work orders, parts, and things of that nature. So with that said, if nobody has any questions, we'll go ahead and get started. So we are now 4 minutes after the hour. So the first thing I'm going to do, going through here, just like everybody else does inside of SigmaNEST, I'm going to open up my work orders. Again, we're connected to our ERP system with the SigmaNEST module, so we're getting live updates on parts and work orders that we have, as well as inventory that is both in process or has been brought in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up here. I've got my work orders, and I'm just going to look and see what we've got going here. SigmaNEST being intuitive, and it's going to tell me that I've got, as you can see, an overdue work order. We can also see the ones that are currently in process. So I'm going to go ahead and select a few of these, and we will go ahead and load them. You're not seeing, all right, let me, hopefully you guys are seeing this now. I know we've had some issues with Zoom today that it completely shut down our link. So for those of you who got that email that had to re-register, I do apologize. We have had some issues with Zoom, even though we tested it this morning and yesterday as well, and everything was working. But moving along, so opening up a SigmaNEST, I've got my work orders. You see I've selected a few here. Again, SigmaNEST is going to keep us updated on all our work orders, the status of each of those. So you can see we've got some that are overdue. But I go ahead and select a couple of these work orders here. And the first thing I'm going to do is to create a new task for these work orders. So I'm going to go ahead and filter these, looking for my cold roll, and we'll run the 105s. Okay. And again, the next thing that we can do here is loading up our inventory. So I'm going to go ahead and look through the library, see if we've got some sheets that we'd like to use for these work orders. You can see everything that we've got on here on hand of our inventory. Again, another key of having the SigmaNEST is having that automatic connection to our business system to know exactly what inventory we have available to work with. So I'm just going to pick a couple of these here. I'll do the 120, 48, and then this 96 by 48 as well. I'm going to go ahead and load those sheets. All right. And everybody should be familiar with this screen here with our task parameters. Just selecting, again, the material, the machines, our nesting algorithm, all these things here. I've got all my default settings the way I want them, so I'm just going to click OK. We're going to bring these parts in. So you see we've got all our parts loaded here. So next step is going to go ahead and nest these guys down just as we would any other job. So we've got our parts nested. We're going to go ahead and generate the NC code. Again, you can see we're running a Cincinnati laser here. I've already got all my default settings set here, so I'm not going to bother clicking through that. Not really the focus of the webinar today, but really want to focus on how we actually communicate that. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. And then the final step here is going to be to post these sheets out. So we're going to post these jobs out. Now, typically what most of our customers do at this point is once they post these, it's going to go out to their shared network. And for the programmers, kind of their job is done, right? They've already brought in their parts. They figured out what work orders need to be worked on first. They've selected material. from their library there to make sure they're working on active inventory. And then they're going to post these out to a shared network folder, and it's going to be a burden of the machine operators to bring those programs out and start those and running the machine. So here in a minute, what you'll see is the status bar is going to pop up and tell us that these have been updated and successfully posted. And then what the current process for most of our customers who are not leveraging these shop floor connectivity tools is they're going to print out some reports of some kind so they have a paper trail and document that they can present to the shop floor for the operators to look at, so they have some sort of visual representation of what they're doing. We've got a lot of standard reports that are fully customizable, and I'll open up a couple of these real quick as soon as this is posted on here, so you see we've got the success, so that's posted. I'm sure you guys are familiar with these, but I want you to look at these real quick because basically what we're doing is providing a digital copy of these reports here. So we'll just do a quick preview. I think pretty much all of our customers are using some version of these standard reports. The task layout summary and the layout detail report are probably the ones we see the most of. And we're actually going to bring all that information to the shop floor, but without having to print these reports out, have them physically transported out to the shop floor, and have the burden on your team here to kind of follow along with them. So again, you can see standard reports. You're going to see a layout that shows exactly what's on the sheet, all the parts, all your part information, the part name, quantity, the nested. You're going to have your cut times on here. So this is all standard information, but what we're going to do is we're going to present this in a little bit different way to our customers here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and open up our load manager. Right. So you guys should be able to see the load manager here that popped up, and I've got a full list of all the different lasers we've got at our wonderful facility here. Anthony, can you see the load manager screen here now? Excellent. All right, so if you look over here on the right-hand side, we've got our two different jobs that we just posted out. Again, these were posted for the Cincinnati laser. And when we select these, we get a nice little preview of what the program looks like. And we can just drag and drop these. Basically what we're doing is we're scheduling these jobs to this machine. And we could post these out to numerous machines if we wanted to, depending on what machine has what workload on it. We can see exactly when that machine is going to start, when it's going to finish. Say we've got a bank of lasers like we have here. Maybe our HK laser is going to be down for maintenance from 3 to 5 p.m. So we can schedule around that. That's what Load Manager here allows us to do. So basically, I've got these jobs loaded. So my job here is done. And I'm going to move on over to color offload, which is the focus of our webinar today. So again, we talked about the typical process of once you post those programs out, is generating some reports, some type of communication for the operators out on the shop floor. And for most people, that's a paper form that's sent out there so those guys can look at and see everything. But issues come up with that is, if somebody has to physically transport it out there, then you always run the risk of, did you print the right report? Did you put it on the right person's desk? Did they find it? There's just a lot of issues that can come up with that. And if there's anything on that report that comes a question or they have issues with, again, it has to be physically transported back to the programming office, which for many of you is not really that close to the shop floor. So what we're doing is we are replacing that paper report with a digital report here that reacts in live time, real time, with the programming office. So what we can do is we can look at, if you see here, we've got our program. We've got the program name, sheet name, material, all the information pertinent to this job. We can click on and quickly see all the information about each part. how many we have nested, how many have been cut, all that information. So go ahead and select this one, and the first thing we're going to do is we'll go ahead and start this program. So as the operator, I've got everything, I've got the sheet loaded, I know the program I'm running. I'm going to go ahead and start running, and I'm going to stop and finish that program. And SigmaNEST is going to tell me by highlighting this program here, green, that this job has been successfully completed. So here we've got that, and we're automatically starting on the next job. So we are complete here. So let's say maybe we wanted to change something about this job. Looks like, again, we're blending our work orders here to make the maximum use of our time and also our materials here. And what's really nice about Color Offload is you'll notice with the name here, we've got all the colors. And what we're doing is we're organizing these by work order. So you see we've got 605, here we've got 608, here we've got 607. But all these parts are included. We're able to blend those together, make the most out of our efforts and our time here and our material by blending these together. But with this graphical representation with the color, it's very easy to identify which parts belong to which work order, which makes it that much easier for the operator when removing those parts to get them cleanly and quickly off the table and organized and off to their final destination. One neat thing we can do here, so we've got a sheet, and maybe these parts were from a customer who actually sent us some material that's been on hold for them. These are some special parts. So what we want to do is we want to swap these sheets, and let's use, instead of the 3555, this 3556. Let's pretend that's the sheet that the customer has designated for this job. So we'll go ahead and make that swap. Again, this is something we can do from the shop floor as a machine operator to communicate and participate in this program here. So now we've got our job, it's been updated. We've got our sheet program name. You'll see it pop up here in just a moment from 56 to 55. So what we're going to do now is we'll go ahead and run this job. And we'll go ahead and pretend that it ran, it was finished. And again, you'll see it go green, showing us that we've successfully completed that job. And now let's say we ran that job, and for whatever reason, maybe we had some issues with those parts. Typically, you're going to have, as an operator, make some sort of annotation on those paper documents, or send an email, send that back to the programmer, run those papers back to the programmer and say, hey, these parts were scrapped for whatever reason. They're going to have to go back in, pull that work order, pull those parts out, create a new work order for them, and add those to another work order, add them to the nest, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of steps to do that. What we're going to do is leverage, again, that SimTrans, that connection with our ERP system, using Color Offload. In live time, we're going to select the part. We can reject them, and we can even specify why this part was rejected. Was it a flaw in the sheet? Maybe it got dinged up while it was being loaded. It was damaged in the cutting process. Maybe it had a crash or something like that. Or it was poor edge quality. And not that anybody would ever admit it, but maybe they loaded the wrong material. So we can select that. Say, all right, we've got this one part here. It had poor edge quality. We're going to mark it as scrap. And that's important right there. We're telling SigmaNEST this part was not successful. I'm going to say OK. Now when we update the program, again, this is leveraging that integration that we have with our business system. So now it's going to update through SigmaNEST to say, hey, we have this work order, which we had as X6008, and we selected that part number and said it's not up to par here. We rejected it. Here's the reason. And it's going to send that back through the system. So when you go back through SigmaNEST, and I'll go ahead and do that now. It's going to update our work orders and say, hey, you've still got more work to do. This work order wasn't completed. Now, it's a little bit different here on my system, so I am actually manually running SimTrans. So this is something that would be running in the background for most of you here, so you wouldn't actually see this. But I want to show you this because I can actually show you the transaction where SimTrans is going to update. It's going to say, we ran that work order X6008. It was completed. It was in process. And then it's going to have a note underneath that, and it's going to reference that actual work order and say, here's your part. It was rejected. It's going to give us the quantity, and it's going to give us an update to let us know that now that work order is actually back in play. So this will run for just a quick second here, and we'll see that update, and I'll show it to you. I think this is kind of neat. Again, something you typically wouldn't see as this application runs automatically in the background, but it is nice to actually visually see the software working and seeing that update. All right, here it is. So we've actually got, again, there's our work order transaction completed for 6008, and then it says part rejected. And we've got our part number here. So what we're going to do is we go back in SigmaNEST. So now we're going back into the programming office. As a programmer, you already ran those first programs this morning. You've got everything updated. We come back in and let's see what else is on the docket for us to do today. So we'll go back in, open up SigmaNEST, and look at our work orders. And because we have that connectivity with SimTrans and our machine operator rejected that part, updated and sent that through the system, we should see that work order will now be listed as in process, and we'll see that part that was rejected. So let's filter for our work orders that are in process, and there we see 6008 in progress. And as a programmer, we say, hey, we already sent that out this morning. That should be done. Let's take a look at that, see what's going on. And the first thing we'll see down here at the bottom is partially done. That means something wasn't completed. So we look at it, we've got our part over here. You can see the quantity 4 that we ordered, 3 that were completed, 1 that was rejected. So here we've got our part. It is now back in our work order, again, leveraging that connectivity we have with SimTrans to our business system, so we can track this part all the way through, not dealing with any paper, don't have to worry about it getting piled under somebody's desk or lost or not properly notated. It's just automatically right back here in the system with quick real-time communication with the shop floor. So now we could add this back into a work order and start the process all over again and get everything else going. So that's really it in a nutshell for Color Offload. Again, focusing on communicating to the shop floor in real time to show exactly what is on the job. When mixing work orders, to quickly identify which parts belong to which work order. We can actively engage with the program by swapping inventory sheets if we want to for whatever reason, and communicate back to the programming office if we have parts or sheets that are of substandard quality or had some other issue in production. So that's kind of it for today's webinar. I just want to give everybody a look here at Color Offload. If you have any questions, I don't see anything that's been added here in the question and answer session. But if you have any questions, please go ahead and type those in now. I'm more than happy to answer any that you might have. We'll also be doing some follow-up. Your sales rep will be for those who have participated. There will be a video made of this webinar here, so if you guys want to see it again, or maybe there's somebody in your team you think might be interested in watching, we'll make sure and send that out to you. But I'll go ahead and wait a second if we've got anybody else who has any questions. All right, well, I don't see any questions. So like I said, I hope everybody enjoyed the webinar here. Again, we just wanted to focus on showing you guys some of the tools we have to leverage the integration that you have with SimTrans to connect not just with your business system, but connect in threefold to other departments such as the shop floor to have that automatic and real-time connection and communication. If you have any questions, please reach out to your regional sales rep. And again, they'll be following up to you if you register for this webinar, just to make sure you don't have any questions. And if you would, again, like a copy of the webinar to review it either for yourself or maybe there's someone else on your team who might be interested in looking at it, we will make that available for you as well. We do have another webinar scheduled for next week, focusing on nesting efficiency. So we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about doing mixed work orders, blending work orders together, something we call best sheet analysis to make sure that you are aggressively using SigmaNEST to tell you what is the most efficient way for you to use the inventory that you have on hand. I'll also be going over all the different nesting algorithms as well. So if you are interested in attending that webinar, that will be next week, I believe on the 25th. Please send an email to your regional sales rep, and they will make sure you get the invitation for that webinar as well. Thank you all for attending. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, if you have any questions, please let us know. Thanks.